For decades, I've traveled across the globe, searching for the fabled treasure of Insomniac. I've climbed the highest mountains and scubaed around in the deepest depths in hopes of finding riches and glory in the form of a butt-ton of gold. And finally, I've found it. The treasure that I've dedicated my entire life to finding is right here in my grasp. It's a butt. Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty, otherwise known as Ratchet and Clank Future Quest for Booty, haha butts, is an action platformer developed by Insomniac Games and released in 2008 on the PlayStation Network. Ratchet and Clank Booty Call was a continuation of the Future Saga, and takes place directly after Todd and before A Crack in Time. But unlike the aforementioned titles, Quest for Bunions isn't really a full Ratchet and Clank game, but instead is more of a 2-hour prologue to A Crack in Time. This might sound like a bad thing, but this game is pretty well paced and quite solid for a cheaper downloadable title. But before we dive into the game itself, let's take a look at the story. Did it have one? If it had one, was it good? Does it tell us things? Let's find out. Shortly after defeating that crab bloke at the end of Tools of Destruction, Ratchet and Towin discover that the only person who knows how to contact the Zoni, those weird little flying things that kidnapped Clank, is the legendary space pirate Captain Angstorm Darkwater. Ratchet and Towin decide to hop aboard a pirate ship to sneakily travel to Darkwater's home planet, but surprisingly that plan falls through as they're discovered by Darkwater's first mate, who tells them that he's pretty damn dead, which is a bit of a bummer for Ratchet, not gonna lie. It's a bit of a bummer. Just before our two heroes are brutally murdered, Rusty Pete, that skinny robot thing from Tools of Destruction, shows up wearing Captain Slag's decapitated head as a mask and gets the pirates to maroon our heroes on this island.
Woo! Slag is kinda back, baby!
After tripping out and seeing Clank, Ratchet and Towin meet the mayor of the island, who gets Ratchet to go and fix a bunch of wind turbines and in return tells him about the Obsidian Eye, a telescope that Darkwater built to show him the location of the Zoni's home dimension. After wandering around for a bit, good old Rusty Pete and Slag's head take Ratchet and Towin to Darkwater's ship, but being the silly old git that he is, Pete puts Slag's head on Darkwater's dead body, resurrecting him.
Woo! Slag is back, baby!
After fighting through some ghost pirates, the smuggler bloke from Tools of Destruction pops up and takes Ratchet to Darkwater's treasure vault, where Ratchet obtains the star required to power the Obsidian Eye. But the pirates pop up and kinda just take it. Ratchet, feeling kinda bummed about the whole situation, decides to go and get his groove back by pursuing the pirates, rescuing Towin, who was apparently kidnapped at some point, and murdering Slag again.
Slag is dead. He's dead again. Baby.
Ratchet then returns to the island and powers up the Obsidian Eye, only to discover that Clank has lost his memories and the Zoni know a doctor who can fix him. Who is this doctor, you may ask? He sounds pretty sketchy, you may also say. Well, buy A Crack in Time to find out. Nah, just kidding, it's Nefarious. They show it right here. Look, here he is.
Woo! Nefarious is back, baby!
The game ends with Ratchet and Towin setting off to find Clank, thus setting up the events in A Crack in Time. Overall, the story here is pretty decent considering the length of the game. It works pretty well as a little prologue to A Crack in Time, and you couldn't really ask for anything more than that. And also the Nefarious tease at the end is pretty exciting for Ratchet and Clank 3 fans, so you did good on that part, Insomniac. Good job. You keep doing you. In terms of gameplay, everything is pretty much the exact same as the previous games. You have your running, jumping, wrench stuff, butt stuff, gun stuff, you know, all that good stuff. Usually I'm not a big fan of the mediocre platforming sections in the previous Ratchet and Clank games, but here they managed to make a handful of really fun platforming stages, where you have to climb to the top of these funky looking windmills, and it's pretty cool. I like it. It might not be anything special, but I did really enjoy the various different platforming styles that you're forced to use to climb each one. I like it. It's kind of like the obstacle course from Ratchet and Clank 1, which is nice. So it's nice, I like it. Because Quest for Booty is a shorter game, there isn't really that many worlds for you to explore. You basically just have this small island in this cave place, which is perfectly fine when taking the narrative into consideration, but I can't help but compare the areas to some of the worlds in other Ratchet and Clank games. It's apparent that the devs weren't encouraging exploration here, as the areas are pretty linear and there isn't any kind of collectible to search for aside from bolts and special weapon mods. worlds. This kinda sucks for me, as my favourite part of Ratchet and Clank games is exploring the various worlds and searching for all the nifty little things to collect. Again, I completely understand why Insomniac went for a more linear adventure compared to the other Ratchet and Clank titles this time around, but screw it, I want to get mad at a good game that had a few issues, so let me have this, okay? Please? Usually, I would go into detail about the vast array of weapons that Ratchet has to use at his disposal, but sadly this game really doesn't have that many weapons, and the ones that it does have are just the more generic weapons from the series. So if you're expecting to see a chicken gun or Mr. Zircon, then you're out of luck. But despite the lack of variety with the weapons, they're still each really fun to use, aside from the tornado gun. Not a big fan of that one. And they can each be leveled up 5 times, which would be pretty nifty if most of the weapons didn't start off at level 3. Not entirely sure why they did this, but it really took a lot of the fun away from experimenting with weapons, as you can't level them up too much. This is a pretty minor criticism, but it just bugged me a bit. Again, the weapons do all feel great to use and are pretty satisfying, but all I want to do is turn robot pirates into sheep, alright? Just let me have that. I just want to turn them into sheep and level up 5 times while doing so. So do you remember that boss that I disliked from Tools of Destruction that was reused a few times throughout the game? Well, guess who makes a comeback?
Woo! Annoying mini boss is back, baby!
As you may expect, I still don't like this boss fight, and the fact that they pretty much just copied and pasted it from the last game to pad this one out a bit is kind of dumb. But what makes up for this fight is the final boss. This is fun. This right here, this is fun. Like a really fun boss battle. It isn't exactly challenging, but the constant attacks keep you on your toes, forcing you to focus on your movement while fighting off waves of enemies. It isn't a very complicated boss, but it's really fun. Probably one of my favorite bosses in the franchise. I like it. It's nifty. It's slag. Overall, Ratchet and Clank Quest for Toasty Buns is a really solid entry in the franchise, and while it isn't very long, has mediocre areas and a lack of weapon variation, it's still fun throughout, and for a small downloadable prologue/epilogue that squeezes in the middle of the Future Saga, it works really well. If you enjoyed Ratchet and Clank Todd, then get this game. You'll like it. If you hated Todd, then you'll probably hate Quest for Booty. I don't know, make your own decisions on whether or not you want to play the game. So on my personal list of best to worst Ratchet and Clank games that I've talked about so far, Quest for Booty is gonna sit right about here. I miss Slag so much. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please share it with your friends, family, or creepy neighbor, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Just want to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters, James, Stewart, Jaden, Joe, Corey, Mark, Classy, Harvey, and Epicat. You're all the real MVPs. If there's anything you liked or didn't like, be sure to let me know in the comments down below, or tweet me at Snooping Turtle. Also, if you want to watch more videos of me doing dumb stuff, then you can check out this video I did for my top 10 games 2016, or this video I did for the Thrustmaster Freestyler. That's all from me now. I hope you have a lovely day. Bye-bye.